were plenty of conversations coming into the season about the Phillies' decision to make a change at the backup catcher position, elevating Rafael Marchan into the role over Chiefs vibes officer himself, Garrett Stubbs. With production across the board being down at the catcher position, it is time to have the conversation of, is there a catcher problem in Philadelphia? And no, this is not excluded to just the backup spot. It is in JT Realmuto himself, but do want to dive into it all in this video here. Now, before I do that exactly, do want to remind you guys, as always, to make sure you are subscribed. And at this point in time, 70% of you guys watch these videos have not hit that button for us right here on Phillies Digest. It does help us out a ton on the channel. Appreciate each and every one of you guys who do tune into this video here and do want to get right into it. So I do want to start off with Rafael Marchan himself. Now, we know kind of the situation that has been the status of Garrett Stubbs. That I think it is fair to assess that Stubbs himself has been more valuable to the locker room than on the field directly, and people have had some problems with it. And this all was put on full display with that fateful quote ahead of the Arizona Diamondbacks series. To give a reminder here on what exactly was said by Garrett Stubbs, his quote: "If the Phillies do what they came here to do and win two of the 3 games and clinch a second straight National League pennant, they're planning to add a wrinkle to their customary celebration. Who's ready to take a dip?" Quote, "I've seen that pool before, so I know exactly where it is," backup catcher / team DJ Garrett Stubbs said Wednesday, referring to the famous noritorium behind the right field fence at Chase Field. "If we take two here against Arizona, we'll be beelining it for the water." Now, I first want to start by saying this has been the most overblown conversation in the world. This is 0% chance or 0% correlated to why the Phillies did lose that series. You can argue that the bats went cold, that being at the forefront of the conversation. You can make the case that it's bulletin board material by the Diamondbacks, but if you're in the MLB playoffs and you're getting fired up over quotes from backup catchers rather than your desire to just straight up win the game, there's some more problems there. Now, granted, obviously things went south for this Phillies team. They blew that opportunity and they still regret it to this day, but I do think there is some hatred in people's hearts for Garrett Stubbs for that very reason. Now, with all that being said, I'm not here to stick up and say Garrett Stubbs has been this excellent catcher, that he is a guy who could provide this natural pop. But what I am learning very quickly is Rafael Marchan may not be either. And to dive into exactly what those numbers have looked like from him, with the Phillies so far, he's 2 for 5 with 2 RBIs, 0 home runs, a 100 average, 100 slugging, 411 OPS, and .350 OPS. Team has weird vibes. Garrett Stubbs in Lehigh Valley, 12 RBIs, 2 home runs, 283 average, a 417 slugging, 250 OBP, and 828 OPS, and the team has great vibes. I mean, how can you not get fired up over a dude who's just ripping this in the team photos like this, as Stubbs naturally does? Now, it has been too small of a sample size to really judge anything too harshly on Marchan, but there's a lot that I haven't liked, to be honest. Even in the field, defensively here, the way he just sails, throws to second base. Now, granted, when he gets it on a line, he does have a gun. There's no doubt about it, that he's thrown guys out. He's made some really nice plays on guys trying to steal second, but he's also sailed a couple, which is pretty unacceptable in my book, and it happens at a far too regular rate. Now, a lot of this circles back to me is this conversation about getting JT Realmuto off his feet. That we know JT for quite some time has been this best catcher in baseball label, has been a guy that's been a pretty foundational piece of this Phillies team. And to JT's credit, there's still a lot that I like about him. The way that he handles pitchers, the way that he calls a game, defensively, how talented that he still is and producing at that level. But I do kind of think we have to give up the pipe dream of you take him off his feet one more day a week, and all of a sudden these power numbers are coming back. I'm just not sure that I see it. And from what we've seen from JT Realmuto so far this season, 2 home runs, 8 RBIs, a .308 on-base percentage. In his 97 at-bats, he does have 23 hits, but struck out 30 times. He is 34 years old and not getting any younger anytime soon. He will be a free agent at the conclusion of this season. And I think there's going to be some interesting conversations to be had about JT Realmuto in that regard. Now, we are not there yet. We need to fix the problem currently. Across the board, the production has not been good enough at the catcher spot. And frankly, it is maddening when that is such a hole. And for Marchan specifically, it's been kind of the reputation of him that he's a good player that just can't stay healthy. Well, by all accounts, he's healthy, and I've been underwhelmed to this point. I'm not ready to pull the plug entirely, but there should be a little bit of push to bring Garrett Stubbs back up to this MLB team. And why I say that exactly is I do think it's impossible to deny the vibes have been weird with this Phillies team. One night they're locked in, they look terrific, they're mashing the ball all over the place. What has been more concerning to me is far too often they just feel lifeless out there. And I think that's what is most frustrating to me is we are in the month of May and it feels like they need a kick in the butt. This season has just gotten off and it doesn't feel like these guys have that same fire that we've seen from them in past seasons. That last year, think about the attention to detail and how much of a priority it was to get off to this great start of the season. I don't feel that just, sense of desire to get rolling in the same way. They certainly are not speaking it with their play. Now, a couple other points that I did want to bring with here is I do think the Phillies are giving Marchan every opportunity to earn that. And to add a little bit of detail to that, shout out to Colin Newby of Philly Sports Network here, who tweets out, "It may not seem like it, but Rafael Marchan is catching more than Garrett Stubbs did last season. Marsh is making his 7th start in Game 34. Stubbs made his 7th start of 2024 in Game 41, although he also relieved JT Realmuto. Marchan is 2 for 18. Stubbs was 3 for 26 there. Now, as far as JT Realmuto goes, that's really where the issue is. That we can talk all we want about backup catchers, and while I think that the Phillies should be considering making a swap a little bit more than I ever expected should be on the table right now, it's about the guy who's out there most days of the week, and that being JT Realmuto. And to circle back to what he's looking for, like from a splits perspective, it's pretty fascinating stuff. Versus right-handed pitchers this year, that he's had 67 at-bats, had 20 hits, 4 doubles, 1 home run, 5 RBIs, 8 walks, and 20 strikeouts with 299, 373, and 433 hitting splits. Versus left-handed pitchers, the exact opposite here, and not exactly what you want to see. In his 22 at-bats, he's had 1 hit, 0 doubles, 0 home runs, 2 RBIs, and two walks, 9 strikeouts, a .046, .125, and .046 hitting splits there. That is not good enough by JT Realmuto under any circumstances there. And I do have to say, it feels more so than ever that Father Time is winning this race with JT. And it is a sad day, a sad thing to admit here, but it is sort of bearing down this Phillies team in a way that I did not expect to be the case here. I don't see a world where there is this bounce back for JT Realmuto where he returns to the power hitting threat that he once was. Frankly, I do think that they are sort of moving parts around at the catcher position with none of the answers quite being good enough to this point. I don't think Stubbs can return to the major leagues and all of a sudden found new layers to his game or found more power in his bat. But I do think that there needs to be something shaken up within this team, and I do think that there's a little bit more truth to the vibes conversation than any of us want to admit. That when you are around these guys at the rate that these Phillies players are, that every Major League Baseball player is, that is your life, man. And if you don't have a guy to kind of, lighten the mood a little bit, it does feel like this Phillies team could just implode and kill each other, man. And I know, they obviously, it's not going to be like a locker room tension situation. I think all these guys get along in that regard, but just something has been missing with this Phillies team all year. And Rafael Marchan certainly has not been the answer to that. So across the board, I have my concerns with this catcher position. I do think that there's going to be some interesting conversations coming this summer when it is the end of Realmuto's contract, and they do have to sort through what is the next best option. But I do think there could be a little bit more of a catcher shakeup than any of us could have expected to be the case at this point. But do want to hear, do you guys agree with me in the comments here? If it were up to you, are you still holding that quote by Garrett Stubbs against him? Or are you still keeping the door open on Rafael Marchan finding another level or returning to the player that we were expecting him to be on this Phillies team? Or are you kind of shifting over to my side of things? I think I'm getting close to ready to leave the Garrett Stubbs campaign. Shout out to Devin Caney, who's already on it, and there's a couple other people pushing, but I'm sort of shifting to that side of things here. If Marchan is not going to hit, I do know Stubbs is a better glove in the catcher position. I do feel strongly with that regard. So I don't know. There are some interesting conversations ahead. Regardless, none of them are the biggest issue with this Phillies team. They just have to play better baseball at a regular rate. But regardless, do want to hear from you guys in the comments. And once again, remind you guys to make sure you are hitting that subscribe button. That at this point in time, only 30% of you guys watching these videos have subscribed. Let's get those numbers up. Let's get this Phillies Digest family growing. I'll be back talking with you next time. Peace.